All right, and welcome to the intro before the intro. This is something I decided to
I got
start
two
doing.
different things to check now.
Yeah, so this
Bad.
is something I decided to start doing about 5 seconds ago. You see, usually when me and
No, we're good
Zach.
now. We're good.
Oh, we're good. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to have to cut that explanation short. Welcome back to the Paisan Sports Podcast. Dante DePlacido joined as always by Zach Deal of What's the Deal Sports. So I've got to ask, what's the deal with everyone spitting on each other? All right. First, we had Dak Prescott spit at Jalen Carter, and then Jalen Carter responded by spitting on Dak and getting banned from the game. And then to make things worse, a player for, I think it was Florida, if I
Yeah,
remember
Florida,
correctly,
South
was
Florida.
like, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to start doing that. And he spat on somebody. Why are we spitting on each other? What is going on?
That's like the ultimate form of disrespect right there. So,
Yeah.
the Jalen Carter situation was interesting. Um, I turned the TV on and I was really confused on what was transpiring and what was happening. But then I saw the video of Dak like spitting at the ground first and then kind of gesturing and looking at Jalen Carter. And then he took offense to it and went up and obviously spit on Dak. So it's not really the best representation of Philadelphia. We love the grit and tenacity that Jalen Carter plays with, and that's his identity. But at the end of the day, we need him on the field, especially with some of the issues. If you didn't know, Ty Robinson, the rookie defensive tackle, didn't dress for the game, and neither did Azeez Ojulari. So when Jalen Carter went out of the game, it was pretty much Moro Jomo and Jordan Davis playing all the snaps, and then you had guys like Patrick Johnson seeing a lot of time on the field. They were going pretty deep into the play, the depth chart there. They had also like Byron Young play like 20 something snaps is like the second most of his career that he's ever played in a game. So Jalen Carter reacting to Dak Prescott, regardless of what the motive was from Dak Prescott, if you believe that he was trying to get Jalen Carter to get a reaction out of him like that, or if it was just a misunderstanding, this, that, the other. We need Jalen Carter on the field, and he just needs to be a little bit more mature. So we thought we were over that with the Super Bowl win, and we thought this was really going to be the year for him to display that growth to a top 10 defensive player in the entire league, and he didn't get to showcase it from a situation like that, which was really unfortunate.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, so, of course, I was at the game, and we had no idea what happened, right? Because, when the ref threw the flag, all they said was unsportsmanlike conduct. They didn't show it on the Jumbotron. So, and on top of that, with how many
Were you like not to cut you off, but were you like watching the field, seeing it, and did they like zoom in on the Jumbotron while like that altercation was happening, or is it more so people started to realize what happened afterwards when the officials got involved and the flags came out and then they started reviewing it?
No, so now if I'm not mistaken, this was if I remember correctly, this was right after the kick return when Ben Van Sumeren got hurt.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, I saw that too. That was also the
Ben
other
Van
thing.
Sumeren.
That was
Right?
also that was also the other thing going on in the background. I flip the TV on, I see Jalen Carter getting walked off, and I see Ben Van Zumeren getting carted off the field, and I'm just like, whoa, what's going on here? We're losing two guys at one time, or two birds with one stone here. So I was a little bit confused. It wasn't a great start, and Dallas started off at what, the Eagles' 50-yard line, like 40ish,
somewhere around there. But yeah, going back to it, so we were all looking at Ben Van Sumeren because he had gotten hurt on the play. So we weren't really even noticing what was happening with Carter and Prescott. That was not being shown on the Jumbotron at all. And on top of all of that, right, there were and I don't know if this was the case for everybody, but at least me and my cousin, there were so many people at the game that our service on our phones wasn't really working. The free Wi-Fi at the link wasn't really working. So we were trying to go on Twitter to
Well, that's
figure out
not even
what
that's
exactly Jalen Carter did to get called for unsportsmanlike and get kicked out of the game, but we just couldn't. Like it took a while until we were
well, yeah,
able
you're
to
gonna
see
have the
what
luxury
happened.
of like the word of mouth in the stadium, obviously, but like the initial, like you're not gonna have a play-by-play announcer on TV be able to walk you through what the actual call
Yeah.
was from the officials because they're not going to mention that inside the stadium. So yeah, I understand the confusion, but for somebody like me that was watching on TV, I'm thinking to myself like Dallas gets the ball pretty much in Eagles territory to start the game. The Eagles lose their best defensive player, and the Eagles love to run the ball. And a guy that they use as their fullback's already getting carted off the field. I didn't see it as a great start for the Eagles, but a lot of that seemed like the momentum generated by all those factors was behind that Jalen Carter getting kicked out of the game because he spit on Dak Prescott.
Sorry, my eyes just got wide because I'm currently on my phone monitoring the Ravens Bills game, and Derrick Henry just ripped off a huge run. But yeah, I mean, things got off to a bad start for the Eagles defensively. The entire first half was pretty poor for them defensively, but the first half was great for them offensively. And Saquon kind of had it going a bit in the first half. Jalen Hurts was making a lot of plays happen with his legs. He was targeting Dallas Goedert a good bit, throwing to Saquon a good bit, not really targeting the receivers, but they were moving the ball pretty effectively. I didn't even remember seeing that many third downs in the first half either, or at least on the first couple of drives.
Yeah, they were definitely moving the ball. Just overall, not just talking about the first half, but the entire game in general. I think there was 4 total targets to Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, which just can't be a thing. I think the first AJ Brown target was on that last drive where he had that comeback route that he caught successfully. Obviously, Jalen Hurts had that nice long pass to Jahan Dotson over the middle of the field. Targeted Dallas Goedert a lot. He gave Dallas Goedert 7 catches. Excuse me. On 7 targets. So Dallas Goedert obviously always going to be involved. Saquon caught a little bit more than he's used to, but Devontae Smith, 3 targets, 3 catches, 16 yards. AJ Brown, 1 catch, 1 target, 8 yards. That just can't be a thing. You can't have your 2 best players outside of Saquon Barkley combined for 4 catches on 4 targets and 24 yards. That's just not a recipe. And that's why that game got close, because the Eagles had a lot of opportunities to be able to move the ball down the field. And Jalen did a really good job of scrambling with his feet, especially in the first half, to create those first 2 touchdowns. But the offense kind of flared out, and Jalen did what he could. So I'm not blaming Jalen for not being able to get AJ and Devontae the ball. I actually thought the issues lied with Kevin Patullo's play calling in the second half.
Yeah, and I saw some breakdowns of his route concepts, and it didn't really look good. You know, there were some plays where he kind of just sent all of the wide receivers to just one area of the field and kind of just crumbled them together, leaving an entire side of the field without any wide receivers running towards. But he did some good things. You know, the play call that got Jahan Dotson open deep, that was a great play call. I don't know who's responsible, if it was Hurts or if it was Patullo, for emptying Saquon out of the backfield on that 3rd and 3 at the end of the game and letting Hurts keep it. But that was a great play call. Funny enough, I was actually, you know, of course I was in the stands for that. It was 3rd and 3. I was with my cousin, and he goes, hand it to Saquon. And I go, no. Empty out the backfield, quarterback draw. And my cousin goes, that's absolutely insane. And then Saquon motions out of the backfield to the if you're watching on TV, it would have been the top of your screen. And whatchamacallit. So he sends Saquon out, and I go, okay, They emptied the backfield, and then he takes a snap, and then he runs the quarterback draw. And like the lady in front of me was like, "You called it, you said it." And then I eventually saw on TikTok somebody breaking down how genius of a play call it was. I said to my cousin, I was like, "Don't ever fucking doubt me. I know ball."
Yeah, and Jalen, I just thought the baseline of Jalen being a winner and just the quarterback that he is helped the Eagles grit that victory out. But I think there was big time issues in the second half with that play calling that kind of held the offense and saw the offense out. Where if maybe a quarterback that wasn't as seasoned as Jalen Hurts and as competitive and as big of a winner and willing to do whatever it takes to win the game, I think they would have struggled more in that spot without the structure of the offense. Because, I mean, I think A.J. Brown had a 0% win rate on his routes in the game, which was unheard of. We'd never seen that before. So without him being able to get open, it just seemed like the passing game, they kind of were onto the trick of him scrambling at up to a certain point.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Jalen, is like you look at the end of the game, right, when they're in a situation where they need a couple first downs, or maybe it was one first down, but they needed to move the ball a little bit to, ice the rest of the clock and secure the win. And Jalen got it done, He was able to find A.J. Brown for the first time in that game on second down. That really set them up to be able to pick up the first down, which he did with his legs, and he got it done. You look at the first half where the Cowboys kept moving the ball. They kept putting points on the board, and Jalen kept responding. So that's the thing with him is whenever you need him to get it done, he's going to get it done. So it's not about how many passing yards he puts up, how many touchdowns he throws for, whether he gets pushed into the end zone, whether he runs it in with his legs. What matters is if he gets it done, and that's just what he does. He just gets it done. He always
delivers. That's what like
makes
even Cowboys fans. Cowboys fans like try to clown you, like, "Oh, Jalen doesn't pass the ball. Look at his passing stats, this, that, the other." First of all, Troy Aikman wasn't lighting up the world in the 90s when they were winning championships.
Dude, he has like the worst passing stats of all time.
Yeah, like he had Emmitt Smith and Michael Irving. That's why he was able to win a bunch of championships, just like Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown, just like how good they are as well. But Jalen also does it with his legs. So when Cowboys fans try to clown me like, "Oh, Jalen's like a glorified running back," like, I don't care who, how, what, where we're getting into the end zone. All I care about is us getting into the end zone all the time. This dude has 57 rushing touchdowns before the age of like 27. I think he just turned 27 in August or something like that. But this dude has 57 rushing touchdowns already. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's all like tush pushes," but I reference all these big runs, like the Saints and the Packers run from his rookie year, the Vikings run week 2 on primetime football, the playoff run versus the Rams last year where he breaks a bunch of tackles and goes 50 yards to score the first touchdown of the game. Like, he's not just doing tush pushes. And the touchdowns that he scored the other day were what? 15-yard scrambles where he juked and eked out like 2 to 3 people to get into the end zone.
Yeah, no, and he was like he said in that video with what's his name before he got drafted, when he's talking about getting freaky in the open field.
Was it John Gruden?
Gruden. Yeah, he said it's that it factor. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, get freaky in the open field.
Yeah, but also
that's what he was doing.
Yeah, let's talk about the defense a little bit. So missing Jalen Carter, like we said, Azeez Ojulari didn't play. Ty Robinson also was inactive as well, so they were really short on the defensive line. They were using like Byron Young out there, like I said. Patrick Johnson played some snaps. I think Byron Young was a part of that forced fumble that Jahad Campbell got credited for, but shout out to Jahad Campbell because he looked great in his debut. Coop got beat a little bit. CeeDee Lamb's a really good player. He dropped the ball, but as far as getting open deep down the field, And anywhere on the field, CeeDee Lamb is a guy that just can get open whenever or wherever he wants to on the field. So he's a really good player. He just dropped the ball a couple times, but even that last play, he beat Coop down the sidelines, and that should have been a catch, even though it was a tough catch. But that's a catch that CeeDee Lamb usually
Well,
makes.
see, he dropped like 3 or 4 different balls, and that's
Yeah,
the thing, man. Is like I find it so funny because the whole reason Dallas was even in that game was because of the contributions from CD Lamb. But at the same time, the reason they lost the game is because of the crucial drops
yeah. Also,
from
that's
CD
it's a
Lamb.
double-edged sword there. It's like a
Yeah,
quarterback it's like a
exactly.
gunslinger. It's like Jameis Winston when he was with the Bucks and starting. Like he keeps you in games because your offense moves, but also he turns the ball over like 2 to 3 times, which sets your offense completely back. So it's kind of a couple steps forward, a couple steps back. So you obviously that's a tough thing for them to deal with, but secondary wise. A guy that I've been critical of in the past, but is my guy, and I think he set the tone for the game and really swung the momentum. I think we were getting pushed around in the trenches. The Cowboys' offensive line, they invested those 3 first-round picks, all named Tyler, and their offensive lines looked good versus the Eagles on Thursday. They were getting pushed around without Jalen Carter in the middle. Jordan Davis
And
played.
that's the key thing too, is without Jalen Carter. Those
Yeah,
are the
but
two
also,
key
just credit to them though. They made the game
ways.
competitive. It wasn't supposed to be competitive, and the game came down to 4 points. So the Cowboys definitely put up a fight. But I thought that Reed Blankenship set the tone when Dak threw that hospital ball over the middle of the field to his tight end Jake Ferguson, and Reed Blankenship absolutely lit him up.
Which that was such the two really dumb penalties in that game was of course that play, because I
That's
mean
always it was a bad
like
call, but that's
what
always
is he supposed to do differently
but
in
it's
that play?
always going to be that though. There's nothing else you can call that.
It's
So
so
it is
dumb
a
though,
bad call.
because one, to avoid contact in itself would have been very difficult, but two, I mean, it's not like he knew the guy wasn't going to catch the ball. Is he supposed to just like back off and let him catch it? It
Yeah.
makes no goddamn sense.
But I was okay with
It's so
just eating.
stupid.
I was okay with the Eagles just eating that penalty. That set the tone of physicality because we were kind of getting pushed around up until that point, and then the next play after that, that was the fumble when we created the turnover. So I felt like that really swung momentum, and that was a big play. So I was really happy with Reed Blankenship, and I thought Reed Blankenship, he also contributed to the CeeDee Lamb play. He came over the top of Coop at the end of that play to lay a hit on CeeDee Lamb as well. That sent CeeDee Lamb to the medical tent. So I thought Reed Blankenship, his urgency and his the way he flied around the field on Thursday, he looked really good. Also, another shout out, Zach Bond. Zach Bond's still that dude. I mean, he ran down Miles
Oh
Sanders
yeah.
yards down the field, which saved the touchdown off the board for the Eagles, which contributed to that series of events. So Zach Bond, and he was also, I think, the leading tackler for the Eagles. So he's
Yeah,
still that.
Bond, like the thing with Bond, like part of me was a little bit worried because like I feel like oftentimes in the NFL when players have these like one-off seasons that are just absolutely incredible, and then like they get a big contract, then they go back out the next year and it's just not the same. I was a little worried that would happen with Bond, not because of the kind of player he is, just because it's just a common theme. But I'm no longer worried about that at all.
Yeah,
He
no,
looked
he's
exactly
definitely
like the Zach Bond we had last year.
he's
And
definitely
the
finished
other
that series.
guy, the other linebacker, Jahad Campbell, one hell of a debut from Campbell. He was the highest graded defensive player in that game. That play downfield when they were in cover two, where he just followed the receiver all the way downfield exactly, and then batted the ball out the play Sidney Brown got hurt on. That was a terrific play. He made some other really nice plays. The duo of Bond and Campbell is looking really, really good.
And Jordan Davis played a career high 50 snaps and had 6 tackles. So
And he looked good, but he's got to finish that sack on Dak Prescott, man.
yeah,
I'll
there
tell you
were
that
zero
right now.
sacks from the Eagles defensive side. So what they did was, Dante, you saw what they did?
What's that?
They
Oh,
signed Zadarius Smith,
yeah, the
which
signing. Yes, there. Why was
who
he
had
still a
9
free
sacks,
agent?
who had
I didn't
9
even
sacks.
realize that.
Who had 9 sacks last year, and he's
Yeah,
still like
he had
32 years
one of the
old.
best pass rush win rates in the
So, like I
NFL
said,
too.
Azeez Ojulari didn't play last week, so Josh Uche was out there a little bit, but it was pretty quiet from the edge rushers between Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith, in the pass rush department, especially a lot of
Oh
that
yeah,
played
and that was the
into
other penalty I
Jalen
wanted to
Carter.
point
So
out.
there was a
The
lot of
Nolan
different
Smith
protections
tackling
that
the
the Cowboys
backfield.
were running that they didn't have to run because Jalen Carter wasn't out there, and even Dak Prescott referenced that in his post game press conference. But defense should still be able to generate pressure on the inside and outside. So they already addressed it. You know how he does. I think they waived Kenyon Green also to that. I
Yeah.
think that might have been the corresponding move for that, but they already tried to make the team better after what they saw on Thursday night. So that just shows you how committed Howie is for the playoff run. So maybe that's a good thing because they don't remember what they have 11 picks in the draft this upcoming draft. So they don't have to go, spend a pick at the deadline to go get a guy, and they can just get a guy early on in the season, let him grow with the entire team throughout the entire season, and hopefully works out. Also, I mean, we don't even know if it is going to work out. This guy has a really good resume. It's not like the guy that they brought in last year, the former first-round pick from the Lions. I forget his name, but we mentioned him when he got signed, and then he never did anything. But, we'll see what's going to happen. But it actually seems like Zadarius Smith is going to play a role for him. It's not like they're just picking up this guy week 9 as like a depth piece. It actually seems like they're picking him up early so that they can use him throughout the entire season. If it
Yeah,
goes
it could be something similar to like a LeGarrette Blount signing. He was pretty last minute. He wasn't after the week 1 game last minute, but he was pretty last minute, and he provided terrific.
Also, they had the advantage of playing on Thursday to do that. So they do that. They already had the first game of the season. Everybody else is waiting to play. So if they would have waited till like Tuesday, say they would have played on Sunday and would have waited till like Tuesday, the teams that played on Thursday and Friday, like the Chiefs, Chargers, and say it was just a different game on Thursday, they could have already seen like, oh, we need pass rush help too, and would have already like made the move to go get a guy like him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, one thing I want to talk about because I mentioned on last week's podcast how this is something they mentioned they were doing in training camp, and it was something I was hoping to see in the regular season was when they came out in base defense with 2 corners. Those 2 corners were Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. Adoree Jackson came into the game when they were in nickel defense, and they had to put DeJean on the inside, and then they put Adoree Jackson on the outside. So, and now that's another thing to talk about, what a poor performance we saw from Adoree Jackson. But I am glad to see that at the very least, when it's 2 corners out there, it's not Adoree Jackson, Quinyon Mitchell, it's Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, but Adoree was getting teed up on.
He's
How
getting
long?
teed up good, man.
How long do you think it will take before the Eagles like make a switch to like maybe seeing what what's his name has to offer again?
Well, they already threw they had thrown Jacorian Bennett out there at one point in the game, and I mean he didn't look the best, but he looked better than Adoree Jackson. I think he has the potential to play better than Adoree Jackson. So, I don't think it's going to be like 2023 where we saw a full year of just James Bradbury playing poorly. I think we're going to see the switch.
Well, that's also like they tried like Eli Ricks at one point. They were like trying all different types of stuff. What's funny was who had an interception today for
Who's
the
that?
Seahawks?
Oh,
Josh Jobe.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
name.
former Alabama. So maybe Mac McWilliams might see some action. They try and switch things around, but if Adoree, like I said, CeeDee Lamb's one of the best receivers in the league, so that's a whole different level. But if this continues to be a thing where teams pick on Adoree Jackson, I mean, he had the one pass deflection that almost ended up in an interception for the Eagles, which could have been an interception. It was right there, but it didn't end up that. And he had a bunch of tackles, but a lot of the tackles were 15 to 20 yards down the field. So I wouldn't even credit him with being high up there on the stat sheet in that department. So, yeah, the outside corner issue that people were fearing was definitely an issue. Makuba looked pretty good at safety when Sidney Brown got hurt. He actually came in and made a nice tackle on the tight end. That's a lot bigger than him. So we were worried about his size being an issue with him trying to tackle bigger guys. And he was able to do that. He ended up with like 4 tackles. So, yeah, maybe they just mix Makuba in too. And Makuba, like we said, is a nickel too. So maybe if they feel better about Sidney at safety than they do about Adoree at corner, they can move Makuba down to the nickel, move Cooper out to the outside corner, and have Sidney at safety and run their secondary.
Yeah, that I honestly think that's the best course of action.
I'm not the most sold on Sidney Brown, but he might be.
No, listen, man. I think up until Sidney Brown got hurt, I thought he looked good. He made a great play on the play he got hurt. Like if Jahad Campbell wasn't there to break that pass up, at least Sidney Brown was there.
He also has to be there on some of those coverages for Adoree Jackson over the top, and he wasn't there. So,
but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, right? Like before, I talked about I didn't want to move Cooper DeJean to the outside, not because I don't think he can play the outside, but just because he's that good in the nickel. But in a situation where you're dealing with this poor of an outside corner in Adoree Jackson, I would prefer to make the switch at this point. And the other thing too is, the counter argument to putting Makuba inside and playing Sidney Brown at safety. The counter argument to that is that, a lot of people are going to say, well, you said I'm not fully sold on Sidney Brown. And even if, Sidney Brown doesn't do the best job at safety, my counter argument to that is you're way better off with 3 great corners and 1 poor safety than you are with 2 great safeties, 2 great corners, and 1 bad corner. 1 bad corner is going to derail your defense so much more than the poor safety is. And I still think Sidney Brown is going to be better at safety than Adoree is going to be better at corner. But either way, it's much more important to lock up your corner positions so they don't just pick on Adoree Jackson the entire game. You can't just target a safety all game, right? Especially if the Eagles are playing man coverage. I mean, like, you can go at him at times, but it can't just be every snap throw Sidney Brown's way. But that's what they can do with Adoree Jackson. Every snap throw his way. So even if Sidney Brown is the best at safety, that's how I would want to do it.
Dallas also utilized a lot of motion to get favorable matchups. But, yeah, Adoree was definitely getting picked on reoccurringly. But also with the Vic Fangio defense, it's more simplistic to keep things in front of them, but he doesn't scheme up for pressure to be generated. So if you don't have the stock players that are just generating pressure in general, like not having Jalen Carter available for the game at all, then it's going to be tough for a team to generate pressure in a defense that's schemed up like that. So that was also an issue that they were dealing with. They couldn't really get to Dak Prescott because they were missing their best pass rusher. But hopefully that can be fixed, and they also addressed the edge rushing department with adding Zadarius Smith, so we'll see the role that he can play. Also, yeah, so the defensive line with Jordan Davis, we talked about him. Nolan Smith was a little bit quiet. Jalix Hunt a little bit quiet. Nolan Smith got that 15-yard penalty when he flexed over somebody after he made a TFL. So, like, one of the plays that he actually did make ended up gaining 15 yards for the Cowboys, which I hate the new rule of like the way that they're treating taunting so like preciously. It's just stupid.
Not being able to taunt. And then meanwhile, Trayvon Diggs was all up in Jalen Hurts' face, and there was no penalty for that.
Yeah, that's what you come to expect with the NFL. But yeah, the summaries of that, hopefully AJ can get more involved this week coming up versus the Chiefs, who lost their first game versus the Chargers. They also lost Xavier Worthy on the third play of the game, running a route and getting taken out by Travis Kelce. He has a dislocated shoulder. I don't know if he's going to play this upcoming week, but if he
And that's
doesn't,
one thing I'll say is, so Dory Jackson got beat up pretty bad on Thursday night. Now that was against CD Lamb. Outside of Xavier Worthy, I don't think the Chiefs really have anybody that they can say, oh, let's just throw to him against the Dory Jackson all game.
they
So even
also
if,
have Patrick Mahomes, so that's a different level of
no, they have Patrick Mahomes,
Hollywood
but
Brown's good. He's fast.
that doesn't really
Hollywood
factor
Brown's
into
good.
the
He's
corner and
fast.
wide
Travis
receiver match.
Kelce got schemed open for that touchdown because Andy Reid's such a good play caller. So that one touchdown they ran that fake screen and he released from that fade route in the slot. So they're definitely going against a good quarterback and a great play caller and a great quarterback, I should say, with a lot of speed on the team. We'll see what the status of Xavier Worthy is. But
If he doesn't play,
you also have to figure out what's going on with
match.
Jalen Carter and how they're going to treat that, because if he's not available, if he gets suspended in any way, I don't know if the Eagles know something that we don't know that they haven't released to the public yet, and that's why they signed Zadarius Smith. It's not just correlated to them not feeling good about edge rushers, but maybe there was a possible suspension coming for Jalen Carter, and they really do want to pad up their depth at pass rushers. So hopefully that's not the case, but we have to see what the situation is with Jalen Carter. But if he's available for the Chiefs game this upcoming week, I think they'll be able to generate a lot more pressure than they were versus the Cowboys. But the Cowboys offensive line definitely got better with all the investments that they made with the first round picks to get it better.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think going up against the Chiefs is going to be a different story. I think if we get Jalen Carter back, that's huge. If Xavier Worthy doesn't play, that's huge. You talk about Andy Reid, a genius play caller on offense. I think another big matchup you're looking at is Andy Reid versus Vic Fangio again. And I think Vic Fangio's play calling is a great counter to
And we
Andy
talked
Reid's
about last week where when in Indianapolis, where when Nick was the offensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus was the defensive coordinator, and now Eberflus is the defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, and Nick is obviously the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, and they matched up on Thursday. So that was a battle in itself, them knowing each other like the back of their hand, literally seeing each other in practice years before, and probably knowing their systems very well. But yeah, this is also another good matchup with Fangio going against Andy Reid, which he used to do that with being the Broncos head coach. So he already has familiarity, and he already gave them trouble a little bit in the past. So we'll see how they're able to do.
A little bit, man. Super Bowl 59 was a beatdown.
Well, I'm talking about when he was a Broncos coach, so like when he was exclusively the Broncos coach, like in division going against the Chiefs, like reoccurringly. But yeah, so we'll see. But Saquon's still that dude as well. I mean, that one play where he caught the ball one-handed, stiff arm, and then trucks to get the first down. It was only like a 7-yard gain. I mean, that just showcases why he got voted the number one player by his peers in the entire league. He's just an absolute monster and a tank. And yeah, well deservingly. Like we said, Jalen did his thing. They had to incorporate AJ and Devontae more in the game plan, but I was happy to see Jahan Dotson catch that ball down the field. John Etchie was like
Jahan Dotson picked up where he left off, man.
Yeah, he seems like he's always good for like one explosive play a game. Obviously, Dallas and Jalen have a good reform too, so he targeted him a lot, 7 times, and they completed all the passes to them. But they have to get the big guys involved. Mechie was actually making some plays on special teams, like tackling wise, which was interesting. But I felt like the offensive line too. That's the one last thing that I'll note is not just I felt like the Cowboys beat them in the trenches on one side of the ball. I thought it was both sides of the ball. I felt like our offensive line was just not that good, especially after the crazy tornado warning that stopped the game. It seemed like we were flat.
Oh no, that was for lightning,
whatever it was called. Yeah,
but yeah, that was a real.
Landon Dickerson left the game, and it just seemed like he wasn't as mobile as he wanted to be. And I felt like Jordan Mailata did not have that good of a game.
No, my Lotta kind of got beaten around a bit. But and that's the thing too, is and this is something I talk about every goddamn offseason, and still nothing ever changes. I think they should be playing in the preseason because then they come out week 1 and this is the product that you get. Now, somehow they keep finding a way to win in week 1, but it never looks pretty. They never fully look ready. I feel like every time we watch a week 1 game, it feels like an extension of the preseason because that's the level of play we're watching. And they just don't play in the preseason. I didn't really talk about it a whole lot this offseason because I'm just tired of advocating for it. I've kind of given up at this point. But I still feel like they should be playing in the preseason because they come out week 1 and they just don't look ready to start the season. Moving on a bit though, one other thing we need to talk about. It's funny because last week, I forget if we talked about this on the podcast or off the podcast. For the people that don't know, me and Zach are in 2 different fantasy leagues together this year. We're in the Elevation League and we're in my buddy Sam's league. Me and Zach are matching up week 1 this year. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I remember us talking about how you have Justin Jefferson Monday night, and we said it's going to come down to that. And it's going to come down to that because looking at the score right now, I have 133, you have 106, and you have Justin Jefferson still to play Monday night. So a big game from Justin Jefferson, and Zach has the win. Granted, he could still have.
Yeah, this is also you have to make this clear. You didn't even mention this because this is the most intriguing part about it is the super flex part. So the reason why I'm still in this, I feel like, is because I started Drake May as my super flex and you started Dak, and Drake May had like 10 more points than Dak did. So that's what
also CJ Stroud, I had him as my QB1.
Yeah, my 2 quarterbacks pretty much that's why I'm in there because I had Jaden Daniels and Drake May. They combined for 36.
You had better quarterback play.
Both of your quarterbacks literally scored less than 10 points each. So that's what really
and everyone else on my team did well.
You had CMC, Kyron Williams, CD,
Chuba Hubbard, Tyler Warren.
I mean, if CD converts how many of those drops that he had, I'm not even close.
Does he wait? So is that how it works? Does he lose points for drops?
No, I'm saying if he would have caught the ball, then he would have had more yards.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, no, it would be wraps right now.
Our tight ends pretty much put up the same.
My biggest contribution was Christian McCaffrey, and I'm glad
I also had a 15-point game from my kicker, so that helped me out. But yeah, that was our head-to-head game. What about Elevation 5280 Sports Fantasy League?
In Elevation 5280 Sports, I started the 2 worst players you could have started this week: AJ Brown and Xavier Worthy. So I'm getting
I saw that
killed in that league.
It's funny because you fall in the category of the literal that's like people what they were posting on social media, like just chill because somebody out there started AJ Brown and Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, I saw that exact post, and
you're literally that guy. You are that guy. So yeah, that's definitely a tough day in the office. Yeah. It looks like I'm gonna lose too because I'm only have a slight lead. I only have Lamar left to play. He has 12 right now, and there's still a half to go. He has a rushing touchdown, but unless he really goes off, I'm gonna have probably a 15-point lead going into tomorrow night. And this person still has DeAndre Swift, Justin Jefferson, and Aaron Jones. So they're most likely going to beat me.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. Both of us have hope for the other league. But it's only one.
Yeah, I had Smitty in that league, so I was hyping up Smitty, but obviously he didn't get to be as involved.
He did better than AJ. He did better.
Yeah, that was really the only thing that I can hang my hat on. And what's
funny too is when you said to me, "I'm gonna laugh if Devontae Smith has a bigger year than AJ Brown." You know, like
What if
if
it's like slightly by like it's just like slight
well, what
a
I was
tad
gonna
bit?
say is if somebody told us a week ago, Devontae Smith is gonna have a bigger game than AJ Brown on Thursday night, neither of us would have figured, they both had a
Yeah, it
shit
would be
game,
like
but
by like
Devontae
30
Smith was
yards compared
slightly
to like
better.
9 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's it for football. Now it is time for my meatball of the week. And throughout the history of the meatball of the week, there have been some pretty obvious ones, right? There have been some where I'm like, obviously, this is my meatball of the week. Dare I say this might be the most obvious?
And the most obvious ones that you've ever done, I've always been able to call them out. So let me get a guess on this because I've always been
I
able
mean, you
to.
should be able to get this easy, easy,
Meatball
easy.
of the week. Why am I overthinking this?
Dude, it's everywhere, bro. It's everywhere. I'll give you a hint.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I know it is. Yeah. I know. I
Yeah.
know it is. Yeah.
So
It's the home run baseball lady.
yeah, exactly. Who is getting national attention? Moist Critical. I'm not sure if you know who that is, but he just uploaded a video about it. This is getting an equal amount of attention to the Coldplay concert incident. It's crazy. So for if you're living under a rock and you don't know, I feel like everyone watching this does. At the Phillies Marlins game the other night, Harrison Bader hit a home run into the outfield, obviously. And it was one of the situations where the ball landed where nobody caught it. And so people kind of just raced to grab it. And a dad grabbed it, ran it over to his kid, handed him the baseball. He literally hands the kid the ball, gives him a hug. And then before you know it, this lady is like tapping on the arm and yelling in his face. And the guy just turns around like, ugh, like cartoonishly, ugh, because it just came out of nowhere screaming in his face, claiming he took the ball from her. And she kept yelling at him until he gave it to her. I won't even say gave it back to her because she never had it to begin with. And she made a complete fool of herself. She even started shit with other fans after that. Meanwhile, the Marlins rectified the issue by giving the kid a gift bag full of stuff. And Harrison Bader rectified the issue by giving the kid a signed bat. So it all worked out great for the dad and the kid. Funny enough, it hasn't worked out that terribly for the Karen because I feel like in today's day and age, usually by now people would have found who she is and her life would be.
Well, I think they did. Wasn't it a Hamilton teacher?
I didn't see that. All I've seen is
I think
nobody
they
can
were trying to
figure out
say
who
it's
the
a
hell it
Hamilton
is.
teacher, and I saw some people say that it wasn't, and some people say that it was. But
Yeah, I don't think we've
the
actually.
one thing
I don't think
that
they've
lady
actually
really
found it.
doesn't,
It's crazy.
the one thing that lady doesn't have in her favor is she is the literal poster child lady, whatever you want to consider it, for the name Karen. Like she's the stigma
she
of
has the
Karen. Like the
exact
haircut,
look, the hair,
and everything. She's the exact Karen look. So that's what she wasn't gonna get away with what she did. And yeah, that was just rotten. Um Obviously everybody wants to enjoy their time, everyone wants to get a souvenir, but that's just crazy to act like that in front of everybody. And I didn't know a single person that was on her side. There was also a video that circulated after of her giving the finger to the rest of the crowd of the people, I guess, that were heckling her after that situation. So she just seems like she has some issues, and to react like that, I think there was a guy that was sitting next to her that was like, I don't know, he was kind of like giggling, but maybe it was just out of like embarrassment or whatever. But no one even like really defended her. I didn't see anybody that was in her favor. Also, that kid ended up getting a baseball bat signed by Harrison Bader after the game, and he got to meet Harrison Bader. Also, the people at the Marlins Stadium gave him like a goodie bag with a bunch of balls and different types of souvenirs and stuff. So the people around them, shout out to them for trying to make the situation better. But to put a kid and a guy like that trying to get that is just sad. It's not like the ball was in her hands, and then he literally ran up and grabbed it and ran it back over. The ball was on the ground. She wasn't able to get to it, and he got to it first. And it's not like he's just some like one of those, that one guy that like is always stealing, like going to
Zach
every
Campbell.
ballpark and taking the home runs,
Zach
and he kept getting.
Campbell.
What's the guy's name?
Zach Campbell. He's one of the worst.
Yeah, and he like interferes with the plays to like try and make that happen. Like
he like
not like
shoves kids out the way.
yeah, it's not anything like that. Like this guy was
yeah.
literally grabbing that ball to give to his son. It's not like he was doing it like some grown man going stadium to stadium to grab the ball for himself in a selfish way. Like so
Yeah,
for her to act like that was just crazy.
And the thing too is like for one, and everyone who is a baseball fan knows if the ball's on the ground, it's fair game, right? That's number one. Number two is, like you'd be in the wrong either way, but to make things worse, the ball was literally in the child's possession when you came up and approached them. Yeah. So like even if like you really felt he was in the wrong, you were in the right. Bottom line is he's giving the ball to his child now. Like you're really going to take a ball away from a child. And I feel like that's such like an obvious aspect to it that people aren't really like pointing out a whole lot. And matter of fact,
I think that's why people are so obviously upset with her because the way she reacted, not only to the guy, because they know the fact of why the guy did that was to give the ball to his child. So, like, I don't think people would have reacted so strongly.
But what I'm saying is, like, it's also the fact that the ball was literally in his hand, too. You know what I'm saying? It's not just, she took the ball away from a dad, giving it to his son. It's like if the ball was still in the dad's hand, like, obviously, still, she's way in the wrong. I just think it's even worse that the ball was now in the child's possession. To me, that makes it even worse, that specific detail of it. And to piggyback off of what I just said, I don't know, does anybody ever say to piggyback off of what they had just said? And do you usually you piggyback on what somebody else said. But anyhow,
I've heard it before.
If I were the dad in that situation, there's some online discourse. Should he given it back? Should he have stood his ground? What I would have done is, if she's yelling at me, give it back. I'm going to say, if you want it back that bad, take it out of my child's hand. I want to see if you really want it that bad that you're literally going to take this ball out of my child's hand. Right. That's how I would have reacted. And in all likelihood, I don't think she would have. I don't think anybody's literally going to snatch a ball out of a kid's hand. Yeah, that's how I would have played it.
Personally. That's a whole nother story. But have you ever had the luxury of catching a home run ball or a foul ball at a baseball game?
I have. I've come into I'm blanking on the word. But I have two balls that were thrown into the stands in baseball games. One was thrown to me specifically when I was a kid. I used to do the summer camp that the Atlantic City Surf, the minor league team in Atlantic City, used to do. And we used to get to meet the players and stuff during camp. So one night I was at a Surf game, and one of the pitchers for the Surf, when the inning ended, he noticed me in the crowd, so he tossed me the baseball. I still have that. And then another time, back when my dad used to own his own mortgage company, he had this receptionist that worked for him. This was back in the mid-2000s. And she went to a Phillies game. I forget the name of the reliever, but if you showed me a list of Phillies relievers from then, I'd be able to point it out. He saw her in the crowd. He thought she was cute. And she was looking at him too. So he took a baseball, taped his number to the ball. Like, he put some tape on the ball and then wrote his number on the tape and then threw it to her in the crowd. And she didn't even give a shit about the ball. She just wanted his number. So she literally took the tape off the ball with the number on it, Next day at the office, gave it to my dad. Like, here, I don't actually want the ball. You can have it. And then my dad gave it to me. So I have that baseball.
Oh,
And
you got the sloppy seconds then.
yeah, I got the sloppy seconds.
Oh,
Which
okay. Nice.
and the funny thing too is like if a girl would give me that ball today as an adult male, I would be like, I don't want this. That's kind of weird. But like receiving it as a kid, it's just like, here's a ball from a Phillies game. And so like I didn't care.
Yeah, you
I
loved
still
it.
care
You
to this
loved it.
day.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
But yeah,
Well,
so I've
yeah.
never caught a foul ball or anything, but I have come into acquisition of those two balls.
Yeah, I had a ball that I purchased at like one of the pro shops or whatever, but I got it signed. I walked up to the railing pregame and I got it signed by Jim Tomey back in the day. That's why he's my favorite baseball player. And I have a picture of him signing my baseball that my grandpa took in like 2003. So that's why Jim Tomey is my favorite baseball player. So yeah, that was the only time I never caught a foul ball or a home run ball. I usually never even sit in like the home run bleachers to be in position to catch a home run ball. And I've never caught a foul ball. But for the Phillies' sake right now, they have a 7-game lead over the Mets. They have 83 wins on the season, 60 losses. They're coming down the stretch in September, the stretch run of the season right before the playoffs. I know everybody's so focused on football, so baseball kind of took the lens off it a little bit and it took a backseat to the Eagles season. But we still had the Phillies making the stretch run without Zach Wheeler. They just added Walker Buehler, who got a little bit of action, a little bit of taste. But their offensive lineup is looking really good and coming to form into shape. So
And
how are you
Bader,
feeling?
man, he's still continuing to hit really well. I'm really liking Harrison Bader as a Philly.
Yeah, and it's given them a lot of options with their outfield. So Nick Castellanos has actually taken a seat a couple times this week in favor of other outfield options. I don't think that's a benching or anything. I think it's more so to get him rest because he's a guy that tries to play 162 games all the time. So just let him rest up a little bit, maybe DH him at times when you can. And they have a lot of good two-way defense options with the outfield now on defense and offense. It's not just guys like Johan Rojas that were really favorable on defense, but not good on offense. And they kind of just kept you in bad spots. The guys that they're putting out there with even Kepler's playing well as well. So guys like that are playing good defense and offense have really helped make this outfield really a lot better and not platoony as much as it was before. And a lot of that has to do with Brandon Marsh too. He's on a complete absolute heater right now.
Yeah, he's playing really well himself. Kepler's playing better. He hit another home run, I think it was yesterday. And going into today's game before the loss, Phillies had won 7 out of their last 9. The Mets also lost today, so that doesn't really negatively affect them there in the division race. Brandon Marsh, after his 3-hit game today, his batting average is now up to 282 on the season, which is crazy because it was really, really low to start the year. And now you're looking at the Brandon Marsh that first came here from Anaheim when he first got here, and he was playing really well. And we were like, wow, what a great trade this ended up.
It feels like a full circle moment because Dombrowski said in the initial interview that they saw a lot of untapped potential with the swing, and it seems like now we've seen what the escalation of the full ceiling of what that could actually mean when he taps into that potential of him being
and not only that,
above 270 hitter, and he's batting 280. And we talked about a couple weeks ago on the podcast how to start the season, Aaron Judge was batting over 400. You had a couple guys batting really high 300s, and now you flip to the end of the season, and there's like 5 total guys in the entire MLB batting over 300, and he's at 280. So that just shows how good he is to the scale of the rest of the league as well.
Yeah, and not only talking about his production offensively, but now with Harrison Bader playing center field most of the time and putting Marsh in left. The thing I've always said about Brandon Marsh is he's a good defender as a center fielder. He's a great defender as a left fielder. So not only has his offense been a lot better, But now, thanks to Bader playing center, his defense is better as well.
And that's
So
why they've been able to like take Castellanos out of the lineup, because they had that side actually held down to the point where now they can mix Kepler in or whatever else they want to do in the
yeah,
outfield to for the right side to get Castellanos some rest. Even sometimes we see the every so often Kyle Schwarber playing left field and then DHing Bryce Harper.
yeah. Now, one thing we do have to talk about. Hopefully, this guy is okay. But Trey Turner left today's game with a hamstring issue, which hopefully
Which
it's
is
nothing
not good
serious.
because it's something that he already dealt with this season as well. So that's why that's definitely
Yeah.
not good.
But I was listening to the radio. They said Trey Turner said he would have stayed in, but he just wanted to err on the side of caution. So if he felt like it's something he could have realistically played through, but he just wanted to be cautious, then, to me, that sounds like a good sign. Hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he's not going to miss too much time. Hopefully he'll be plenty good to go for the postseason. However, we have 3 very important games coming up. We have what I would refer to as a shot at redemption, because a couple weeks ago we were 7 games up on the Mets going into a series against the Mets.
That dropped before it that we got swept.
I think we might have even said going into that series, as long as they don't get swept. I think those words might have been said on this podcast, or just all that they just need to not get swept. I think we might have said something like that, and they did.
But that's something they definitely have to overcome, regardless of if the Mets make the playoffs or not. They've struggled in New York, and that just seems to be one of those kryptonites. So that's something that they overcome, and they just have to beat the Mets in general. So
in general they do. But what I'm saying more so specifically here is this is the same exact situation as a week or two ago. The Phillies are up 7 games.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about the Mets, even like regardless of how this series plays out. I'm not really worried about them in the long picture. Like we said, with the Trey Turner injury, they're going to have to operate differently. Maybe they just let them sit down, ice up for the rest of the season. I think they can coast enough to be able to just win this division, and that's all they have to really do, because they're also up 4 games to the West Division leader, which is the Dodgers, and the Dodgers have 79 wins. Hold on one second. Let me explain what I'm saying. So they have a 4-game lead over there. So if they win the division and just keep pace, they will get a bye, being the second division winner. So I feel good about that. And letting Trey Turner sit a little bit. I know how important he has been for us this season, getting back to being the true Trey Turner that we signed. But that's why you have a guy like Edmundo Sosa to go fill a spot like that. And I also feel comfortable if they wanted to sit Trey Turner, let Edmundo Sosa play that role till he gets healthy, and then bring Otto Kemp back up to fill that utility infield and outfield role.
Well, no, I wasn't exactly finished what I was saying. For starters, I would say in the long run, I am worried about the Mets if they encounter them in the postseason. I don't know how I feel about us beating them in the postseason. They seem to not play well against them. What I am also talking about, however, is, to me, this series feels like a shot at redemption, because a week or two ago it was the same exact situation, 7 games up, and they end up getting swept and letting the Mets right back into the division race. Now, whether you believe whatever happens in this series, the Phillies are going to win the division anyhow, that's one thing or another. I just feel like when you go through that, where you're up 7 games, you have a chance to put away the division race, and instead you let the Mets right back into it. And then you move on from that, you start playing well again, and now you find yourself in the same exact situation. I feel like as a baseball team, take everything else out of the equation. Take the division races, the wild card races, take it all out of the equation. Now, as a baseball team, you're facing the same exact situation again. This is your shot to redeem yourselves. And I feel like that's important. Like if they go out and they get swept again, that's just absolutely freaking pitiful. If they lose the series, that's whatever. But if they win the series, to me, that's a statement. That's a great way to bounce back from that disaster you suffered a week or two ago. You come back better this time. You win the series. If they win the series, then they go up 8 games. If they sweep them, they go up 10. So to me, this is a big series coming up.
Yeah, their bullpen's also a little bit banged up too. They just put Daniel Robert on the 15-day IL with a right forearm strain. So
oh yeah, I forgot about that shit.
So their bullpen's a little bit light going into the stretch run here, but this is where maybe they can lean on Jose Alvarado for some extra innings since he's not going to be used in the playoffs as well. Bullpen, I'm still not the most confident in. We'll see how it goes. We know we don't have Zach Wheeler. Aaron Nola's still getting adjusted. Walker Buehler got a little bit of action, so we'll see how much he can help them in the long run, and we'll see what they're going to do with the situation of who they're going to move to the bullpen out of the starting rotation guys. But they said specifically when they signed Walker Buehler that they plan to use him in the starting rotation, which means Taijuan Walker would be the guy that goes back to the bullpen.
Or maybe at this point, maybe Nola. Dude, Nola looks awful, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's
he
just
looks really bad, but so does Walker. And Walker was pitching well, but now he looks bad. So I don't know. Right now, Walker and Nolan, neither of them belong in the starting.
It always seems like these guys have always been really talented and always seen as like the Phillies have the best pitching rotation, but they never are clicking at the same exact time to get them to that full potential of what they can actually be. So, but I feel really good about the position players and what they're producing and what they're doing right now between the top of the lineup guys. Just hopefully Trey Turner's situation isn't long term, but I would just let him rest up for a playoff run. And we'll see when we take it from there. I feel confident in this team going into the playoffs and be able to get there, that they can get a first-round bye, which they most likely will, like I said, having that lead.
I wouldn't be upset if they don't, I
always want to buy, but I don't like the thing though where it's like, oh, we haven't played baseball in a week. Like, that's why we lost.
Well, look at our 3 postseason runs the past 3 years. 2 with the bye, 1 without. And look at
now we're dealing with less resources. We're dealing with one of the most talented players in the league not playing for us this season. So it's going to be an adjustment with that. But as much BS as you can bypass, I would be willing to do. So getting a first round bye helped you bypass you getting upset in the first round by a wild card team that's hot at the end of the season.
And listen, I hear your point, and that's why my stance on it is I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not like, oh, I don't want the bye.
Well, I think the most realistic thing that's going to happen is they get the bye. That's why I'm
but what I'm saying is, like, I'm not rooting for either to happen. I'm not rooting for them to get the bye. I'm not rooting for them to not get the bye. I think there's good and bad with each one. So I'm not really rooting for either. But to wrap things up, I think you already know the last thing we need to talk about here.
Is this Sixers related?
Same thing every week. Same thing every week.
Yeah, so we're a couple weeks out from not only the Flyers, which we never talk about on here, but the Flyers training camp and the Sixers training camp. But Quentin Grimes, where you at? What are you doing, bro?
Still not there.
What are you doing?
So we'll see.
That's what like basketball seems like really the ramp up. You know how like football, you had the draft in April, but then you start getting hype and then you start playing a fantasy football. So like you're hyped for the rest of like the season build up. It seems like the draft for the NBA, you get so hyped, free agency, and then you have a massive adrenaline dump up, like a die down period that's like 2.5 to 3 months long where you had like no excitement after the summer league ends.
Yeah.
More so to like every sport, because baseball goes like into its dark age after the World Series ends in the beginning of November. And then you have football obviously taking you through it, and it doesn't ramp back up until the winter meetings of like the free agent signings in like later December and January. And then you're already rolling back around with spring training and like the end of February and March and stuff. So I feel like basketball, of all the sports that we do talk about between football, basketball, and baseball, has like the biggest die down hype period between like the draft to like when the next season is. But I mean, we had the third overall
I
pick.
could agree with
We're
that.
hyped about Jihad. Just think about it. We did win the Super Bowl, and we knew it was an important piece for us to get another talented player in Jihad Campbell. But we should be so hyped for the Sixers season. We had just had the third overall pick in the draft. We're hyped about the 31st.
Look at everything else, though. Look at everything else.
I know, but we're hyped about the 31st overall pick in the draft for the Eagles. We're hyped about the 31st pick in the draft for the Eagles, and we're not as hyped for the third overall pick and getting to see a
because the rest of the team is just a freaking dumpster fire, man. But I am hyped for VJ specifically. I am.
Yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, Tyree. I'm just not only hyped for VJ, but to see how him and Tyrese mesh with each other.
Yeah.
I'm hyped to see Bona, another year of Bona as well.
I'm hyped to see more than 10 games of Jared McCain.
And it seems like some of the other guys too, like they're going to keep Kelly Oubre at least for now around. He seems like somebody that would be atop the list if they make moves at like the trade deadline down the line. But as for now, we didn't know like if they were going to try to get rid of him at any point in the offseason. But it seems like he's going to be around. But like we said, we'll end it off here. We have no clue what's going on with Quentin Grimes. How important do you think it is if they don't go to the season with Quentin Grimes on the roster? Do you think that's actually a massive blow, or do you think that them being able to have because it's different if they didn't sign him and they didn't have VJ, you know what I mean? But now that they have VJ, like how really important it is to pay a guy that like averages 15 points a game, like a bunch of money.
You have Maxey, you have McCain, you have VJ, you have Kelly Oubre. You have a lot of guys at that position. So I don't think it's like a massive blow if Quentin Grimes doesn't stick around. If Quentin Grimes was like a really good power forward, then I would say it's crucial because that's something we need. But at his position, like as much as I really want him back, I don't think it's like a major loss if he doesn't stick around.
Yeah.
To me, it would maybe be like he's definitely a step up from Buddy Hield, but it's kind of like losing a player like that.
Yeah, also would see that too, but also he's somebody that you can like get an asset for too. So we'll see how it all plays out. Maybe a sign and trade, but yeah, they got to figure that out quickly because it's already September and they start getting back into action like the 20s of September, whenever it is. And that's like only 2 weeks away. And we have no clarity or anything here, any rumors or any type of news update on that situation. So that's interesting. But thank you guys for tuning in to episode 113 of the Paisan Sports Podcast. We also stream not only to our Facebook, but our YouTube page, which we'll be doing down the line moving forward too, since we have the option to. So if you can't catch it on Facebook, you can always catch it on our YouTube page. So give that a subscribe and a follow. And we'll be back to talk Eagles Chiefs and what happens there. Another week with the Phillies, obviously this huge important series coming up with the Mets and how that goes and the pace that they have. And we'll Dante, do you, after this Mets series, if it goes well, are we going to start revealing the magic number for the Phillies countdown?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's probably like a good time to start mentioning that. And then, another week where we're wondering if we're going to get some Quentin Grimes Sixers news. So Phillies, Eagles, Sixers, obviously we'll keep you updated every week on those things. Eagles back in action. So a lot of these podcasts moving forward are going to be Eagles primarily, and we're going to have playoff baseball too. So Dante's reacting to something crazy that just happened.
But big 4th and 5. Big 4th and 5. That was wild.
Yeah, we're going to go watch some Ravens Bills and see how this game pans out. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week to talk Eagles, Chiefs review, Phillies, Sixers, all that good stuff. See you then.